My family, welcome to yet another one. When I was watching soccer yesterday, the World Cup, yes, I do watch soccer here and there. I was watching the match of, Egypt and Argentina. We were really scared in courts. Argentina was 2-0 down, but later it then won 3-2, you see. And after the match, a lot of you started messaging me saying, remember what Prophet Angel said.
He supports Argentina. Egypt is the most difficult game. Let me show you some spiritual thing. Have you noticed that Africa is losing 3 this? It's like Africa is just conceding 3. Argentina is going to win.
I have Messi on you, so we should have Messi, not Ronaldo. So Messi, you want Messi? No. I don't understand. Are you crying for Messi or for Lionel Messi? He wants Messi. The only problem I have is I'm still trying to figure out what Messi says. Because I also don't know what he says. Even if I ask you why you hate Messi, you say he's prideful. Because maybe you saw a compilation of videos. But I tell you, there are also compilations of Cristiano. When he's really being ugly. When he's pushing people away. Yeah. Not wanting to take photos. So the reasons are not spiritual reasons. But my reasons are purely spiritual. It's either a Sangoma, I said this team, and I said let's go for that team. I spoke about France, when was it? 4 or 5 days ago. Praise the Lord. Personally, I don't like football, but if you say who is my favorite player, it will be Messi. Messi is like a magician. I've seen some clips, I was like, oh wow. Mm-hmm.
So far we can actually see that there is nothing wrong is yet found with what Messi says or does and whatsoever. So we're still waiting on whether it's going to announce whether Argentina is going to be eliminated or win the World Cup. Well, going on to something that is more serious than, football stuff. Football stuff is very interesting. It's entertainment and all that. And at the same time, some of these things have to be done, especially when attention is now being diverted to other gods. So we now need prophets to step in so that people know that God really speaks, about every matter. So we're now moving on to this thing that has to do with CERN. And there's something very interesting that Brother Brandon said.
And I saw witchcraft being done. And I saw a darkness of an advancement of tech concerning AI, concerning quantum computing, concerning this black. It was coming out of the summer solstice. I said, watch CERN. There's something going on with CERN. Look, I said, watch CERN. There's something with it. They're going to do some upgrades. What do they want to look for? Dark matter. There's something more. We're shutting it down. But look at the date they want to resume. 2030. Why 2030? I said, I saw a darkness coming out of a demon. The last one. And it was a black, it was AI, it had digital all around it with these horns. And I saw a extensions coming out of this thing concerning the socialist internet, concerning AI. And I saw clamping down on live streams like this. They won't allow it to happen. In Europe, I saw major things. But these black tentacles came out of this thing and started wrapping around your live streams and your internet in the days ahead. And I saw socialistic control coming. 2028, 2029, by 2030, it was completely implemented. And the Lord said, watch this. Now, this is interesting. I just think interesting. It's like, why? 2030, why? Okay. We're gonna do upgrades. We're gonna find this black matter, and it'll all be upgraded. We're gonna do this by 2030. And I'm like, that's interesting, isn't it?
And I'm actually very aware that Prophet Angel also has something to say about CERN and all that. We'll share that with you towards the end of the video, because it is very important, as I'm, arranging all these clips. For those who don't know what CERN is all about and what these things are all about, here's just a brief lesson on this, or a physics lesson, for those who did not do physics and the like. Listen to all this.
June 29th, 2026, CERN shuts down. And every time this machine powers up or goes down, something strange seems to happen. The Large Hadron Collider goes into a long shutdown, while CERN is saying that they're shutting this down for upgrade. And this isn't a weekend maintenance break. This thing is going offline for years. They're expecting this thing to be back in 2030. Mind you, they're shutting this thing down today, on the same day as a strawberry full moon. Big coincidence, right? You got to remember, the first time CERN fired up the Large Hadron Collider in 2008, that same year Wall Street collapsed. The financial system almost broke, and some people say the world got hit with the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Then CERN entered its first major shutdown around 2013. Right around that window, a massive meteor exploded over Russia, one of the most powerful airbursts in modern history. You had windows shattered. People got injured. The sky literally lit up like something in a movie. Then CERN went into a long shutdown from 2018 to 2022. And during that stretch, the world completely changed. You had the pandemic. You had lockdowns. You had supply chain chaos, economic meltdown, political unrest, a version of the earth that honestly never felt normal again. And now we fast forward. CERN is shutting down again while AI is on the rise. You got wars escalating. You got governments pushing for digital ID, but I'm guessing none of this is ringing a bell, right? I need you to look at this statue that's in front of CERN. That's Shiva, the Lord of Destruction. Basically, he's a deity of transformative rebirth. Y'all let that sink in for a minute. The scary part isn't CERN shutting down. The scary part is what comes next.
Well, an entity came from this portal. And like it said at the table.
That was Dr. Astrid coming out a few years ago, and what she said was going on at CERN. Now, she has an academic and scientific background. She worked at the University of Geneva in Switzerland. She has also worked with the World Health Organization and the United Nations, so she holds some weight. Now, her claims were that they had opened a portal or something like a Stargate under CERN. She claimed that she was told by scientists there that an entity came out, and the entity even left a scarf behind as physical proof. Now, regardless if we believe her or not, they are messing with something they shouldn't be messing with. Now, she said that they were trying to open something much bigger. Well, this came to mind because of this, and I showed you that clip because of this. So I was sitting here, and I heard the word CERN in my head. It just popped into my head. I heard that word, and I was thinking, well, I haven't looked into CERN in a long time. So I went and I looked into it, and there was a news article from today. It said they had just announced that they are happy about funding for a new particle accelerator, or a new particle collider. Now, something much bigger and better, they say, kind of what she was talking about. They say, build by far the world's biggest particle accelerator, over 3 times larger than the LHC CERN. Wow, that's big and more powerful. Now, the planned Future Circular Collider, called the FCC, will be voted on in 2028. It says they will be checking funding in 2028 and move forward. It also says that as of today, private donors have already pledged $1 billion towards the construction of the FCC. So the LHC CERN is expected to have fully run its course by 2040, and they want another one ready, a much more powerful one ready. They would start construction in the 2030s on the FCC. They do say that the project would start operation in the 2040s. However, we know that when they always want to speed things along, or, they need to speed things along, it might not even take that long, so who knows? And especially if, let's say, something happens to CERN sooner than that. But the late 2030s into 2040s is also when Space Weather News says that the pole shift will happen. We've all been watching the data, or however you want to say it, data on that, and that would correlate with around the same time. Now, I think it could all happen much sooner, but who's to say? Anyways, so all of these things are in Revelation. And you also have the 2030 agenda, the New World Order, the beast system. And we know CERN has its hand in Bible prophecy. It could even play a part in, like Revelation 9, the key to the bottomless pit, just the thought there. But anyways, I really do think we should pay attention to their moves on this new FCC and if they speed their plans along. Because literally everyone and everything right now has 2030 or the 2030s and 2040s in their major plans. Just something to watch.
They're doing very strange experimentation. There are beings from portals coming in and out.
Beings coming in and out of portals.
Yes, they have apparently in the bottom of the CERN this portal, this door where they are dealing with all the subatomic dimensions.
You've seen the latest video. You know Dan Burish has been saying the same thing.
They are from the future, 45,000 years ahead of
45,000 years ahead on a separate timeline than what we are presently on.
But here's what's more disturbing.
When you look at what is going on in the CERN, there is a fight from some of the military agencies. Intel, they say that there is a fight on time. They're trying to change time.
I have this feeling that time is broken. It passes too fast, even if I stay and do nothing for an entire day. Okay, I know there are some scientific explanations for that, but what about the Mandela effect? This CERN insider talking about portals and beings coming in and out, this feeling that time itself may be broken, the Mandela effects, and all these unanswered questions and doubts about what CERN is really doing. I came across someone named Frank Jacob.
I thought I'd do an impromptu report on something which I think is giving people a lot to be concerned about. The investigative journalist Miriam Hanine recently published an article entitled "CERN Erupts Over Portals, Particles, and the Large Hadron Collider."
So I followed the link shown below, and surprise, it looks like the article was deleted. A journalist writes an article raising concerns about CERN, and the article can't be found anymore. I searched everywhere on their site. Nothing. 10 years after discovering the Higgs boson, the so-called God particle, CERN's Large Hadron Collider started smashing protons together at energy levels we've never seen before. Their stated goal? To reveal more secrets about how the universe works. Let's talk about what this machine actually is. The LHC is the world's largest and most powerful particle collider. It's a circular tunnel, nearly 17 miles long, buried 574 feet underground along the border between Switzerland and France. After a 3-year upgrade, it was fired back up in April 2022, and on July 5th of that year, it began a new experiment running 24/7. For the next 4 years, at a record energy of 13.6 trillion electron volts. That's slightly higher than its previous record. They'll collect data, then shut down again in 2026 for another 3-year upgrade, before starting up once more in 2029. The price tag so far? $9.2 billion. The process sounds like science fiction. They take 2 beams of protons, the particles in the nucleus of the atom, and shoot them in opposite directions around this 17-mile ring at almost the speed of light. Then, they make them collide. These collisions are recorded by massive detectors with names like Atlas, CMS, Alice, and LHCb. Thousands of scientists will analyze the debris, hoping to find clues about dark matter, dark energy, and what the article calls other fundamental mysteries. The article quotes a theory. Though it may sound like science fiction, if extra dimensions exist, they could explain why the universe is expanding faster than expected and why gravity is weaker than other forces of nature. The search for extra dimensions is not science fiction. It is a legitimate, active area of research in theoretical physics. It states, unfortunately, the public is not fully aware of the full potential of CERN as it relates to interdimensional communication. It mentions CERN's logo, which some say contains the number 666. Founded in 1954 by 12 European countries, CERN later expanded to more than 20 member states. It is also where the World Wide Web was invented in 1989. Then, it describes an event in 2016, a ceremony for the opening of the Gotthard Base Tunnel in Switzerland. That ceremony was very weird. I won't go into details here to keep this video safe. The last time CERN was turned up to full capacity, strange things happened around the world. The Earth's magnetosphere was affected, and an unexplained spiral was observed in Norway. Is there a possibility that CERN opened an interdimensional portal? What are they really looking for? The article closes by returning to Frank Jacob, who says that CERN is already generating energy explosions that affect the Earth's Schumann resonances. He points to the year 2029 as a key moment, saying the timetable appears to be accelerating. Interesting year, right next to the famous 2030, when everything is supposed to change, according to the World Economic Forum, based in Davos, not far from CERN. What do we have so far? We have insiders talking about portals and entities and mentioning that CERN is trying to change the time. We have the Mandela effects, a lot of them. We have a growing feeling, reported by many people, that time feels different, like it's accelerating. We have a massive scientific project operating at unprecedented energy levels, exploring extra dimensions, quantum phenomena, and the deepest structure of reality. We have legal challenges that failed to stop it. We have limited oversight spread across international agreements. We have unexplained stories, unanswered questions, and one name that appears briefly and then almost disappears. And finally, we have increasing public curiosity. Enough curiosity that CERN itself felt the need to respond. On their official website, there's an entire section dedicated to answering questions from the public. A full Q&A section.
But concerning their plans, Prophet Angel had this to say.
Here is one that I received that was very easy. I will frustrate CERN. That the people shall call witchcraft signs. That I'll frustrate them. What they think is a holiday, what they think is a break. And they fight up again. I'll frustrate them. And some will come out and say, now we have seen that they are really portals. They'll talk of portals. They'll talk about multiverse, where simultaneously existing areas where you are here and you are here. They will talk about it. But in that, realize they have opened a portal. There is no saying they will open a portal. They already opened it. That's what I'm going to say for tonight. And I will do one of these days. I'm going to call maybe next week. So I give you prophecies and prophecies and prophecies. What will happen before the end of the year, because some of you, as a matter of fact, okay, that day will come. All right.
So I'll share some clips with you, my family, concerning some of these topics and some of these areas. The reason I don't touch on some of these areas is because, some of these stuffs can get your channel deleted. You see, there are some certain strict things, strict policies that YouTube has concerning some of these areas that we may want to touch on. And another reason, some of you may be asking that, why is it that you only share prophetic words from Prophet Angel or Prophet Tommy or, Brother Brandon? Why is it that you don't share this other prophet, this other preacher, this other preacher? Why is it that you only share Pastor Chris and just a few preachers? It's because of copyright issues. I've suffered from some of these issues with other servants of God, or maybe their media teams, you see, where I'll just post this servant of God, supporting or spreading the message that they are teaching, and the next morning you hear that your channel is under threat. So that's why I've chosen, just a few servants of God. We have no problem with me sharing their content. All right. So I'll meet you in the next one. As always, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I just felt this topic was very, very interesting and important for us to talk about and for you to just know. All right. God bless you.